You have people younger than me tell our team that they're planning their funerals because they've been waiting too long because of skin cancer, which just sounds ridiculous, right? And so you hear this long enough, and we really weren't trying to build a company. We wanted just to help people like her and the many others that we saw through Dr. Hong's clinic. So it would be a little fuzzy to come back to say, when did we really become a company versus when were we just a tool that we wanted to hand out for free? And our tool's available for free for anyone to download. And so you can go on the App Store, look for Get Skin Help. You can download it. It's a skin cancer screening tool, which won Innovation First Prize by the Canadian Society of Plastic Surgeons. It is clinically valid. This is not just ChatGPT trying to take pictures of you, right? Physicians trust this.
Welcome to NGBiLab, a podcast about innovators and disruptors who are creating the next generation of companies in Canadian life sciences. Hi, I'm Jim Wilson, and my guest today is Keith Loo, who is the co-founder and CEO of Skinopathy in Toronto, Ontario. The mission at Skinopathy is to provide accessible healthcare on demand. It's a story that you will be interested in hearing because it touches on the next generation of healthcare. Keith has spent more than 20 years working in the technology sector with the likes of Logitech, IBM, and Microsoft, but during the pandemic, a conversation Keith had with a friend who is a reconstructive surgeon made him aware of a growing problem, which was that patients with skin cancer were waiting months and sometimes years to see a specialist. That conversation led to the creation of Skinopathy, which is a company that uses artificial intelligence and smartphone technology to help patients screen skin conditions earlier and connect with physicians faster. In our conversation, Keith talks about how Skinopathy came together, how the technology works, and what it takes to build a company at the intersection of healthcare, artificial intelligence, and patient access. Before we get to our conversation, we'd like to let you know this podcast is one of the NGBI podcasts, which we produce to promote Next Great Big Ideas, Canada's Life Sciences Summit. NGBI is an annual national networking event for Canada's life sciences community and an independently organized, not-for-profit fundraising event in support of McMaster Children's Hospital. For details on the NGBI Summit, please go to nextgreatbigideas.com. This episode of NGBiLab was recorded in January 2025. Skinopathy, I think, if you haven't heard about this company, it's really cool. And it's based here in Toronto. And our guest today is one of the co-founders, Keith Loo. Keith, welcome to NGBiLab.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to this. I am so fascinated by what you and your team are doing. What is the problem that you're trying to solve?
We weren't trying to build a company, first of all. My co-founder is a plastic and reconstructive surgeon. And during the pandemic, he was seeing that more and more people were coming into his clinic with late-stage skin cancer. And he just figured that we needed to get ahead of this or else we're going to have a pandemic of people dying from skin cancer. And that's really kind of how we started, was just trying to help people get skin cancer treatment faster.
And so this was a friend of yours who just came to you one day, shooting pool and saying, hey, I got to talk to somebody about this. What do you think?
That's right. Yeah, we were just having a conversation about this, I believe, in his kitchen. And we just needed to solve for this because we were literally seeing patients with golf ball sized growths on their necks and their groins and leading them to, having to go through chemo. It just went really far because people were waiting 12, 18 months to get surgery, right? And that was just becoming a bigger and bigger problem.
So the company was founded almost 5 years ago in August of 2020 by you and Colin. And I guess the idea really did spring out of the pandemic, so to speak, in an oblique way. And you've had a heck of a trajectory. You've been riding a rocket ship since then.
Yeah, it's been going pretty well, yes.
So in December, so you founded in August. And
Yes.
then in December that year, you launched Get Skin Help, which, if I understand correctly, is a website that connects to doctors with patients to have their skin concerns addressed. Is that right?
That's right. It's not even just a website. It's an actual medical clinic that serves in person and virtual, and we have apps for you to download. And so the original premise was we just wanted to give our patients an app for them to screen for skin cancer at home. That was it. And it sounded not like rocket science. I mean, CNNs are a solved problem. This has been around forever. And there were hundreds of companies that claimed that they could do it. However, when we did our deep dive, it turned out that none of the technologies that existed could be used in a medical setting practically. So let me tell you why. So first, there's a lot of technologies that work, and they work amazingly well. However, they typically require our patients to go and buy a specialized camera. So imagine like a super magnifying glass, like a dermoscope, but these cameras could cost hundreds to maybe $1,000. And it's unreasonable to ask anyone to go and spend $500 on a camera to take a picture of a random bump on their skin, right? Like really think about it in a practical setting. It didn't make sense. And secondly, there's a lot of really cool tech out of Silicon Valley and out of, tech companies. And we have a joke that says, we, myself included, tech bros, love creating tech, but it's not very practically used in medicine. Like it's built by really smart engineers who don't necessarily understand healthcare. And so if we're adding more steps to the health protocol or the medical protocol, it just won't be used. And the last part is that none of it's approved anyway. And to use this type of technology in a medical setting, it has to be approved, right, by Health Canada and FDA. And the last part was that any technology that did work would work for someone like you and me. We're relatively fair skinned, but there's no technology in the world that actually worked for darker skinned individuals. And we live in Canada. We have a mosaic of a population and a fair amount of people who have darker skin. So that was a major challenge. And so we needed to build our own, and that's what we.
So do people just take out their cell phone, take an image, and email it to you?
They don't have to email it to us. They take a picture with their cell phone, with our app. Immediately, we'll give them an analysis to say, is it likely one of 3 conditions that we might believe it is? And we'll tell you roughly how urgent it is to go take care of it. And now you have the option. At least you have an analysis. You can now take this to your family doctor, or if you have a dermatologist or a plastic surgeon that you work with. But most people in Canada have a problem with getting to their doctor. And so if you cannot get to your doctor very quickly, we will connect you with a doctor on our platform who will help you with it. And so let me just give you context. In Canada in 2024, the average wait time from referral to treatment of any condition was over 30 weeks. So anything that you had to any specialist anywhere in Canada, but that's the average. However, we humans tend to think of skin as, say, less important than, let's say, the heart, right? When it comes to skin, it actually goes longer. So we live in the GTHA. Here, we complain about waiting for 3 to 6 months, right? However, we've had patients in Ottawa who've had to wait over 18 months with late stage cancer. We've had doctors in Northern Ontario tell us that their wait times are over 2 years to get to a skin referral. And then we worked with doctors who told us in Nova Scotia and Saskatchewan, the wait times are up to 36 months. It's crazy, right? So if you think about it, if we had a child who had a rash and they had to wait that long, that would be incredibly stressful for the child and for us as parents. But if we had a teenager with a moderate to severe acne, that could really change their life if that you had to live with that for a long time. But if you have skin cancer, that might kill you. And so that's why we had to do this.
So there's your why. And so you literally take a picture with your cell phone. It's immediately transferred by the app to you folks. And is it an AI algorithm that helps determine what this is? Or like it's not somebody going, I think it's skin cancer.
So yes, it is an AI algorithm. So we developed and created this ourselves, and this started in 2020. And it's still the world's only 3rd generation dermatological AI that can screen, track, and manage any skin condition on any skin color, on any camera with clinical relevance. So it works on any condition. So we started with skin cancer, but now our technology is used for a variety of different skin conditions. It actually is the only technology also that works on any skin color clinically. So dark skin, for the first time, we can help people assess their redness on black skin, for example. And it works on my mom's iPhone 6 without additional hardware. It's a lot of our algorithms are actually more accurate than doctors. And it's used in hospitals, clinics, and long-term care facilities.
Wow. So this idea goes from a casual conversation with your friend Colin in your house to a boardroom setting, how quickly from the idea of, here's the problem. You know what? Let's tackle this. When did it become? How long did it become? Did it take to become a business?
That's a good question. I think it's kind of fuzzy even for us because you can ask Dr. Hong, us starting a business really wasn't on our mind. Like we were in a situation where people really needed help. Look, that first year, I can't tell you how many times I cried because I'm not from healthcare. I'm been in tech my entire career. And so meeting patients, we have stories on our website and some of them go live and record their stories. But you have people younger than me tell our team that they're planning their funerals because they've been waiting too long because of skin cancer, which just sounds ridiculous, right? And so you hear this long enough, and we really weren't trying to build a company. We wanted just to help people like her and the many others that we saw through Dr. Hong's clinic. So it'd be a little fuzzy to come back to say, when did we really become a company versus when were we just a tool that we wanted to hand out for free? And our tool's available for free for anyone to download. So you can go on the App Store, look for Get Skin Help. You can download it. It's a skin cancer screening tool, which won Innovation First Prize by the Canadian Society of Plastic Surgeons. It is clinically valid. This is not just ChatGPT trying to take pictures of you, right? Physicians trust this.
Hi, it's Jim. When we come back, Keith explains how a conversation during the pandemic turned into an idea for a company, and how his background in the technology sector helped identify where it should focus. Stay with us. I'm Jim Wilson, and you're listening to NGBiLab, Canada's life sciences startup podcast. If you're not aware, the goal of this show and our other podcasts is to promote Next Great Big Ideas, Canada's Life Sciences Summit. NGBI is an annual national networking event for Canada's life sciences community, and we invite you to join us. For details, please go to nextgreatbigideas.com. Now, on that note, if you would like to become a sponsor of the summit or this podcast, please send us an email. My contact information is at the end of today's show, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for your interest. Let's get back to our conversation. Hey, welcome back. It's Jim Wilson, and my guest today is Keith Loo of Skinopathy in Toronto, Ontario. You mentioned you were in tech before this. What were you doing?
I've done a lot of things in tech. It's been 20-something years now, and I've had the privilege of working with companies like IBM, Logitech, Apple, Microsoft, other companies, but usually the business of tech is where I resided. In my most recent enterprise role when I was at Microsoft, helping them with their open source software business. So think about the free software. Most people are not familiar with open source software, but it was really cool to be there at the genesis of Microsoft and their open source software, and now being one of the biggest businesses in the company.
So serendipity brought you together, and this idea landed in your lap, so to speak. So let's go back to the business. In February of 2021, you filed your first patent around a proprietary artificial intelligence technology that, as you explained, analyzes pictures of skin diseases. And your partnership since then, and this is just like 4 years ago, you've partnered with a number of organizations, including the University of Alberta and NGBiLab in Montreal, and I'd appreciate you taking a moment to explain why them.
That's a great question. So we'll start with University of Alberta. It was a really cool interaction that happened. If there were a lot of companies that were working on solving for skin cancer, the feedback we heard from the burn unit from the University of Alberta was that there was no technology whatsoever for burn patients. Canada, the way we structure our hospitals is we have specific burn units where for severe burns, that's where you would take your patients. We would send our patients. And University of Alberta is one of those burn units. And what they've told us was that EMSs are typically not trained on burn assessment. And we also heard that firefighters are also not trained on burn assessment. Their job is to fight a fire, right? And so, however, these frontline individuals, such as firefighters, can often get burned. And so could, of course, the actual patients on site. And it's very important, if you think about it from a forest firefighting perspective, if someone gets burned right there, we have to make the decision, do we send them to the burn unit? Do we send them to emergency, or do we send them to, say, their family doctor, or just go home? And that assessment has very real consequences, because if we decide to send them to a burn unit, they might have to take the helicopter. However, if the next person needed the helicopter and that patient actually didn't, then now a patient suffers, right? The quality of life of that patient is really impacted. So by actually putting our technology on a cell phone that is validated for anyone to use to assess burn severity with your cell phone, it's a new capability that has not existed before. And so much so that last year, the American Burns Association gave us an award where we were able to show that our burn assessment was actually closer to the gold standard than doctors.
That is so cool. Because I mentioned earlier, it's like reading about your company is like watching a rocket take off. It's so impressive. But your trajectory from August 20 into 2021, like you partnered with ISED, the Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Canada folks to create this proof of concept, which we talked about. And like in September of that year, you received your medical device license from Health Canada, and you just kept going. Where are you today?
That's a great question. I started off by telling you the premise of the wait times in Canada, right? And I'll tell you, day one, when we started this, I think we saw our first patient in December. Like, we literally incorporated the organization in late August of 2020. And in December, we saw our first patient. And as you can imagine, pandemic, everybody's locked down. We're just trying to figure things out. But we were able to help our patients. Our Google average rating in 2020, 2021 was something like 2.7. The experience, frankly, sucked. We were able to help people. Very proud of that. But, it's clunky, right? Like, use this tool, use Zoom, use all of this, and you have to do it in a compliant way. And we're very proud of the fact that our Google average in 2024, the average rating, was 4.8, and which brought our cumulative average, I think, through time to 4.3. So start at 2.7, we're at 4.3 now because our average is 4.8, which tells us, I think, the experience is pretty good now. And that is because our average wait time at Skinopathy for any skin condition is 2 weeks. However, if you're in the GTHA and you have an urgent matter, such as, someone in your family have a bad rash, a burn, or something that's really bothering your child, anything that's deemed urgent, we have a rapid access clinic that can probably get you seen within 24 hours. And everyone in that rapid access clinic would be focused on skin. So that's the current state in terms of solving the original problem that we tried to solve. Right. And I think we're doing okay with that. But what's interesting is, since doing that, we have received a lot of global interest in our technologies and our capabilities. Like, the core of what we do is make our medical practices, physicians, nurses, administrators, hyper efficient. If we can make them more efficient, they can deliver more and higher quality care to more people. So instead of doing all of their clerical burden, the doctor or nurse can focus on just getting to know the patient. How are you really feeling? Right. And so that really improves the process and ultimately delivers better quality outcomes for the patient. And so now this technology, we're deploying into numerous clinics and potentially hospitals in Malaysia at this quarter. We just got off a partnership discussion out of a couple of African countries. I just came back from Tokyo, where we had a lot of interest to deploy our technology in nursing homes and in different settings. And, this past year, I think, opened up 20 plus countries that have been interested in leveraging our technology. And that's just on the healthcare side. What has been really exciting, and something that everybody at Skinopathy is incredibly passionate about, myself included, is medical research. Medical research typically takes a lot of time, it's very costly, resource intensive. And we have an EMR system that is so smart in real-time, real-world data. We're able to really accelerate medical research because of all the data we can gather through our patients, who give us explicit consent to leverage their data to help other patients like them. And so as a young startup, we've been able to publish and podium and present 46 times, which, from what I hear, is a rather unique achievement for a young startup, because we're not here as a company to publish. We're here to help people. It just so happened that we've been able to publish so much novel science, and then we commercialize that novel science really quickly, put it in the hands of our patients. And a lot of pharmaceuticals and manufacturers see this and now have asked us to collaborate with them to help accelerate their research.
So I'm afraid to ask my next question. Where does Canada rank in the interest that has been shown in the company? Like, are you getting a buy-in from the hospitals here, or are you having to go outside of the country to get that buy-in?
I'll say this. I think we're very fortunate, really, to get a lot of interest in what we do. In Canada, we have worked with a lot of institutions, from the board down to the executive team, down to the physician leads, all incredibly passionate and wanting to use our technologies. However, the bureaucracy typically draws out that time for us to deploy. So it might take months or years for a clinic or a hospital, well, not a clinic, more like a hospital, to really dive into our technology, even though the demand and interest was there since day one. And to give you a different context, when we're talking about other countries, after the first meeting, they ask us to start. So it's just different.
That's a polite way to put it. And I look forward to the time that I walk into a doctor's office and see information on your company rather than a fax machine, which boggles my mind. So you've had a number of corporate collaborations, and one in particular caught my eye, Walmart. What's with that?
It was a really organic, again, relationship with Walmart. So here's the thing. We see a lot of patients, as you can imagine, our doctors see a lot of patients for a variety of skin conditions and hair loss, which happens on your skin. And the most common thing that we would do, one of the more common things that we would do, I'm not a doctor. Our doctors would typically say, hey, you have hair loss. Maybe one thing you should try is go and buy some hair loss products. And one of them, a very popular one, is called Rogaine. And the most common place that people would go and potentially buy it is Walmart. So it just became a regular, hey, you want to buy some Rogaine? Go to Walmart, right? Again, if we deal a lot of skin, do you need a moisturizer? Do you need, right? Go to Walmart. It was a common occurrence. And so we reached out to Walmart and said, hey, we're sending a lot of patients your way. They're like, yeah, we noticed. And so how about they give us a personalized offer for anyone that came through us? And again, there was a lot of interest in terms of, I can't talk too much about the other types of collaborations we're looking at, but in general, just a lot of synergy in terms of they provide a lot of products. Retailers in general are very interested in personalized recommendation, right? What actually do I need that you can provide me, not just what you have on sale? And we as an organization, we're data and AI centric. We know exactly what our patients need.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you. I'd like to go back for a moment and talk about your original financing. And when the company started, were you bootstrapped, or did you have the friends and family seed round? How did you get over that hurdle?
Good question. We're incredibly bootstrapped. Dr. Hong and I bootstrapped this company quite a bit. And then we'll call it friends and family who really supported us. Thankfully, we have some friends and family who really believe in us, and the amount of support that they put in, you would never expect that. And we never asked for money to start because we don't want to jeopardize anybody's investment. I've been in the startup world for a long time. There's no such thing as a guarantee. And so the last thing we want to do is go and jeopardize someone's hard-earned money. So for the longest time, Dr. Hong and I just bootstrapped this just to make sure that, we can get this going. But then we receive a lot of interest from venture capital and from corporate venture capital. And so we've brought on, I think, a couple of VC before, let's call it our seed round. And so, we've had a mix. What we've found that has worked best for us is what we call super angels. And so angels who really believe in what we do can bring strategic value in terms of how we grow, right? Like your money is great. Of course, as a startup, we love money, but more importantly, can you help bring us somewhere so that we can help more people and help more organizations? And so those are the investors that we have really taken in the past year. And they've just been phenomenal, like rolling up their sleeves and introducing us, getting involved and traveling with us, everything. It's been great. And I have to stress the different levels of Canadian agencies have been phenomenal support as well.
Hi, it's Jim again. When we come back, Keith and I talk about the team behind Skinopathy and how the company has grown into an organization that is attracting global attention. I'm Jim Wilson, and you're listening to NGBiLab. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi, it's Jim Wilson. I'd like to take a moment to explain the goal of this podcast is to shine a light on innovators and disruptors who are creating the next generation of companies in Canadian life sciences. We hope you enjoy learning about what ideas are on the horizon and learning who the people are behind those ideas. We also hope you like what we're doing, and we have a small favor to ask. We will greatly appreciate you promoting us on social with the hashtags NGBiLab, NGBI Podcasts, and NGBI Summit. By the way, if you're a startup founder who is working on one of the next great big ideas in Canadian life sciences, or you know someone who is, please reach out to us. My contact information is at the end of today's show, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much. Let's get back to our conversation.
That's good to hear. How many people are on your team?
That's a good question. That number kind of changes. It kind of grows. I think we're in full-time, maybe in our 30s. I think part-time, probably somewhere around there. And then we have, dozens of physicians who work with us very regularly and our advisors. So and we take on a lot of students because, as you can imagine, there's a lot of interest in our world right now: AI, healthcare, medicine, engineering. And so whether students are in engineering, healthcare, biotech, right? And everybody's interested in AI. So we get a lot of interest from pretty much all schools. And so we've taken on, I think, close to 300 students to date. I teach university. I love helping students grow and helping young minds grow. And so if there are opportunities where we can collaborate with universities and colleges, who have been amazing for us, we do that.
Ted, we're only talking about a corporate journey that's not even 5 years on. And I'm wondering if during your journey to date, have you ever had a moment where you thought, I don't know we're going to get past this?
We are going through a very interesting time. Our whole world is. How AI is actually changing the world, literally. You can see how the economic impact, but I think more importantly, how it impacts us as people. I think all of us are hearing more and more stories of people losing jobs or worried about losing their jobs. There seems to be a layoff everywhere every other week, especially in tech companies too, right? And then there was a massive shift a couple of years ago when the Silicon Valley Bank died, right? And that impacted the startup ecosystem, right? And so it's interesting. This is my incredibly long way of saying the thing that keeps me up at night is that we have 30-something families full-time and a bunch of families part-time that depend on us for their livelihood. That is the only thing that keeps me up at night. We don't have a concern whether or not we're going to help people. We know we will. We don't have a concern whether or not there's demand around the world. We know there is, but no business is guaranteed. And that is the thing that we stress about. But there are times, like as a founder, am I going to make payroll is a very real question, right? And it's different when you just have to worry about your own rent or your own mortgage or your own family. It's a lot more when you have to consider the amount of impact that you have. And so I think, I don't think there's not so much doubt. It's that's the stress.
Comes with seeing the person, used to say the corner office, the person who writes the checks. I've been there in a previous life, and I empathize with the position that you're in. Let's talk about a better or more upbeat topic. In your team, we mentioned earlier some awards you've won. It's a laundry list of awards. And just last year, you won awards at AI Med 24 Startup World, and you were recognized as a top 20 early tech company by the Canadian Innovation Exchange. The list goes on and on and on. What is it that sets you and your team apart?
Yeah, it kind of blows our mind. You're right. We get a lot of awards we didn't apply for, like often, right? Like they just announce and tell us that you've been nominated and you've won, which is kind of amazing. Like we don't set up these awards, if that makes sense. And I think it's a culmination of a few things. One, we're doing something that's important. I've had a very long career. I feel like what I'm doing matters. I'm helping people, fulfilled, right? And what I'm having an impact, whether it's one person or 100 people or 1,000,000 people. It's something I say to my team all the time. I really do mean this. Even if our company died tomorrow, I think we were all very proud of what we've been able to achieve in 4 years. And I absolutely do mean this. And so one, I think it's what we do matters. Two, the technology and our approach to it is novel. And we're not just creating tech for tech's sake. I've worked for tech companies where that was the case, right? Like if you have a quarterly shareholders meeting, you just have to deliver new features and new products, right? So we're not ever delivering tech for tech's sake. We're building technologies, again, to make the jobs of doctors easier and the lives of patients better, right? And that's all we focus on. And so the tech that we develop that's novel actually has very good use. And then finally, I guess it's just, if you think about it from a business perspective, that's where you get these startup awards. Health is evergreen. And so the business has a very good potential. So you take all three of that together, and I can't forget, we have a ridiculously good team. And so you put all of that together, I think that's what attracts others like us to come and join.
Success, yeah.
Right? And then that's how you start getting attention in these awards.
And I keep reading more and more about the accolades that are being heaped on you and your team. For any budding entrepreneurs who may be listening to our conversation, is there any advice you would give to them that you wish someone had given to you like 4 or 5 years ago?
I think, there's a lot of advice. I teach at the Schulich School of Business, and I teach entrepreneurship. And so I have plenty of advice I can offer. But I think one is, I think a lot of us have almost romanticized startups quite a bit to the point where I don't know what it is. I don't think there's many shows that feel this way, but it's like, oh, I just have to have a great idea. And I've talked to Mark Cuban about it, and he's going to write me a big fat check, right? And people are going to line up and give me checks. And so I just need a great idea, and someone's going to pay me for it. It doesn't work that way, right? The vast majority of startups and entrepreneurs, it's their blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. And for many months or many years, did not get paid, and no one supported them, and everyone doubted them. And it is through all of that grit and challenge, they were able to prove and validate that they were right, and that they have a product market fit, and that people want their product, and people are willing to buy it. And that's when people actually start funding your company, right? It's gone are the days of I have a great idea and here's an idea on the back of a napkin and here's a whole bunch of money. If you've built 20 startups before, maybe. But like if you're a budding entrepreneur, prove that you can do what you can do and prove that people want it. I think those are the most important steps in building a company, not just the idea.
They don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
And how you do it.
Yeah. I've got so many questions I'd love to ask, but I want to be respectful of your time. And Keith, thank you for joining us. This has been great from my perspective, learning more about a company that I think you've got a tiger by the tail. And I keep reading about the awards that you're winning. I'm sure there are many more to come. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate this opportunity. I have to stress, we as a startup, we don't have money for marketing. We don't do marketing. We focus all of our attention on taking care of our patients and supporting our partners to help them scale our technology. So this makes a big difference for a small company. So really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
It's very kind of you to say.
That was Keith Loo, who is the co-founder and CEO of Skinopathy, which is a health tech company focused on improving access to care through AI-driven skin screening and clinical support tools. If you'd like to learn more about Skinopathy and the work they're doing, visit skinopathy.com. That's SKINOPATHY. You can also follow them on social at Skinopathy. If you'd like to follow this show on social, we are at NGBI Podcasts, and you can learn more about the show at nextgreatbigideas.com. For details about who I am and what I do in my day job, visit jim-wilson.ca and laboccupier.com. You can also follow me on social at laboccupier. This episode was researched by Xenia Pinto and edited by No Limit Marketing. If you'd like to get in touch, send us an email. My address is jwilson@Leonard, that's LENNARD.com. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.